Okay, guys, welcome back. We're back here with the American Lunchbox Podcast. All of the participants are involved. You know who they are. We don't have to go back over that. But just for shits and giggles, that's we're going to go Chris and Tim and Richard and, of course, myself. Battle. And we're going to, guys, and I know there's a lot going on during the week, and we got to get this thing started. But today we're going to be focusing on what the hell is going on with sports in America, and I guess the world at this point, in regards to this whole COVID thing. So, Tim, take it away. What's going on with you, brother?
What's going on with me? Well, let's see. I just got off my overnight shift, so I'm sacrificing for the group here, you know. So
taking one for the team.
I'm literally. It is teamwork. It is teamwork.
That's our recorder extraordinaire, our tech whiz.
Right. So so I picked the topic this week with sports and COVID. Decided, hey, you know, we're all sports fans. We all enjoy watching stuff. We all have outdoor activities that we want to take part in, and I'm sure we all have opinions about it. I'll get it started. You know, I've noticed that the baseball season has just started, and I'm sitting there watching Fox Sports do their thing now, and they just came out with a new thing where I don't know if you've seen the promos for this, where they're actually putting in virtual fans.
Yes.
You know, and it's like I'm looking at it going, it's cool. I think the technology's cool, but it looks fake. To me, it's just another reminder of things are just not normal. And,
sorry. Go on.
Go for it. Go ahead.
No, I mean it's kind of a reminder that the only people that are allowed to be anywhere at this point are people who are necessary or connected enough to be involved.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, they're sitting there inserting, fan cheering and whatever. And it just, to me, it's like a laugh track. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like sports. And to me, I mean, my opinion about it is if you've got to go to these extremes to sit there and put sports on the air, it's just a cash grab. It's just about the money. It's like for these players that are making, millions of dollars a year, just sit out the season. Sit out the season, waive your salary. You don't need the money. Use it to go pay the staff. Use it to go pay people that are necessary workers that help and support you. You don't need it. You're putting everybody at risk. So, I mean, that's just I know everybody right now in America wants to see sports. We want an escape. We want to see things because we're bored out of our minds. Sitting at home or whatever, watching reruns. But, I think for the safety of everybody involved, it's like there's very little reason to be out there risking your health and risking the safety of everyone.
Yeah, in terms of the inconsequential feeling of seeing the video game fans in the stands, not only did they pipe those fans in, but then they also showed you how quickly they could change the color of those avatars' T-shirts.
Right.
Just in case you didn't feel inconsequential enough.
We're all replaceable. Even fans are replaceable, apparently. I think maybe that's the message.
I totally agree. I don't even want the season to start because, watch, when a couple of people get COVID, they're going to shut it down. So I thought, as much as I love sports, I want it all shut down.
Well, did you guys see the Dodger game?
Yes.
Yeah, I watched the whole opening day.
Did you see me? I was right behind.
Listen to it, a lot of it too.
Home plate. You could pay $300.
Oh, come on.
No, you can pay $300. They say that your dollars are going to nonprofit, but I'm sure it's going to be a fraction of the money that's going to. I don't know if all of my dollars, but if you can get your picture on plastered on the board behind home plate during the game and the entire game, as one of the fans that are in the back of home plate. So no, I didn't do it. My face is not out there, but I know that a lot of people did, and it looked kind of corny in the beginning. But much like everything else, when you start looking at it more, you kind of just pretend that it's there.
So now you're paying overpriced to go to an MLB game that you're not even going to.
That's right. Exactly. Actually, those tickets are probably about the same cost as it is to have an actual ticket there.
Wow.
Not more.
Yeah, if you pay an extra $12, you could get a virtual hot dog in the hand of your avatar.
But this is the thing. I of course we're looking at the risk of what we're talking about during this time, and obviously the COVID is creating this new reality. But I do appreciate people like in the sports business or people thinking of ways possibly that they can integrate things back into our new reality. I don't have a problem with them at least putting forth an effort to do that, because I think it's necessary. We don't know how long this thing is going to take. We don't know where it's going to go. So it's important that we look at what are the possibilities? How can we really get this done? And is it feasible? Obviously, they're going to make as much money as they used to, because they don't have the hot dog stands. They don't have the fan base. But is it really about the money right now, or is it about giving the American people and the world something to do? And whose responsibility is that?
Well, these stadiums are. No, I know. Yeah, I think that people are hoping that the sports calm down the riotous behavior as they did in Roman times. But these stadiums are built with tiers, and those tiers have. For instance, when I went to the XFL game here, the short-lived second iteration of the XFL, they had the upper decks closed off. That was okay because they had the lower decks filled. But what that means from a structural point of view is that they only need half of the hot dog staff, right? Now, who's to say you couldn't socially distance, keep the whole stadium open, it's all outdoors, socially distance people, and then have the entire staff working? For instance, if you had half a staff for half a section or half the stadium open, why not just open the whole stadium, but then maintain enough staff throughout?
Right, but the issue becomes, again, if we're in Congress right now debating the fact that if a person should wear a face mask, you see, that's when it gets kind of weird, because personal responsibility has to be in place with everyone. You have to make people, you have to force them to do it. And recently I did a little traveling, and in certain states that I was in, when I tell you that there was no one wearing face masks except for employees, and I went and I touched what would be the Atlantic Ocean. I went all the way to the Atlantic Ocean from the Pacific Ocean.
Nice.
And I put my water in I put my feet in the water, and I looked behind me, and there were no one wearing masks at where I was.
Right, but George, come on, you were breaking the rules too. You weren't even allowed in half of those states.
That's matter. I was still a little suspect. You're right.
Wait, do masks actually work though? Because I think it's like a double standard.
I mean, they do. I mean, they run tests that show someone's sneezing and then the sneeze goes like up instead of out.
Okay, if they work, then how come not everything is open then? You're saying the masks work, Yeah.
What they determined that if you're indoors and breathing heavily on each other, that's the worst.
Okay.
If you're just around, if you pass someone on the street and you're both not wearing masks, it's kind of like it would have to be a perfect snipe of a virus hitting out of their lungs and into your lungs perfectly. You'd need like a certain viral load, and the consistency of being together indoors means so much of it would hit you that, like a sperm and an egg, one would break through and get you.
But more importantly,
or more would break through.
More importantly than that, it's the person that came in before you that you don't even know was there and did it, and now it's on the handle of the door, or it's on, because remember, this thing is fluid. It moves. It could be anywhere on anything at any time, and it will live there. So what about the person that decided they weren't going to wear a mask? They had it, and they came into the same restaurant you were in at the same time on the same day within the time that it would be able for you to get the virus, and you go into the restroom, and I mean, it gets compiles.
Yeah, the masks are not 100% security against you getting the virus. It's a preventative measure. It's a filter. That's all it is.
Thank you for saying that.
I never go out without it. I'm paranoid to go out without it. I can remember on one hand how many times since the start where I forgot to do it, and it's because I was paranoid the whole time I was outside.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know how much it does, because as I walk out here on the boardwalk, and I'm one of like 10% of people wearing it. And one guy is like sneezing in the crowd. Like, I've seen people sneeze on door handles. I've seen crazy stuff. And like, I'm gonna catch it anyway. What is this mask doing?
Yeah, but the point here is that there is something that we can all do to ease the flow of this thing. We all have personal responsibilities. So if you walk in and you're the only person wearing a mask, it feels a little weird. It feels a little uncomfortable that no one here thinks that this is important, and we're not 6 feet. We're not 6 feet apart.
Right.
But you got to understand too. When we worked together, I requested, hand sanitizer, right side. I was laughed and mocked at. That was 2 years ago.
I think that was 2 years before a pandemic started. Is why?
I was.
Saying.
Yeah, I think you're still laughed at and mocked for that same thing, even in light of new circumstances.
And look at them now; they're the ones, wiping down everything.
I think it was the way you said it, also, Richard. You said, "I want some wipes." People were misinterpreting that, like, "Well, what did you do, man? Did you have an accident? What happened?"
You should have used the term PPE, then you would have got it.
Yeah. No, what I'm saying is, I was always thinking about that, because I used to work with some people that used to wipe down their stations all the time and never got sick. And that was stuck with me. So all the stuff we're doing now is what we should have been doing years ago anyways.
Oh, yeah. How many people said, why are those Asian people wearing masks? That's so silly.
Yeah.
now we know. We all know why. And we will all be doing it some people will be doing it long after this is over.
And that's why some of these other countries, Korea, out there in the Asian countries, it's like that. That's why they were able to sit there and reduce the curve or flatten the curve really quickly, because they've dealt with this. They've been dealing with these viruses for a long time, so they understood what had to happen. They went through SARS, and they went through all these nasty ass infectious diseases. So they knew what they had to do. So they did contact tracing. They did social distancing. They shut everything down right away. They didn't fuck around. They're
also xenophobic enough not to let in immigrants or anyone who would bring the virus in.
Right.
Well, I was going to ask you guys, what do you think of the Washington Redskins changing their name?
Well, we've been saying that for, at least in the black community, for the last 50 years. But by that same token, Washington, you have to realize that the Washington Redskins represents a lot of different cities. It's because Washington is not a state, right? Washington D.C. is not a state. All of the states around it, like Virginia, who doesn't have a team. If you're in Virginia, you are a Washington Redskin fan, right? Mm-hmm. If you are, for a long time, even Baltimore, even though they had the Ravens before the Ravens, they didn't have a football team. They had Baltimore, the Colts, but they also split between Redskin and Baltimore. So there are a lot of fan base, and the fan base is rooted in traditional American culture. So you got a lot of patriot people who love the Redskins, who don't care what the name of it is per se, but want to cheer for their team. And they want to cheer for the same team that their grandfather cheered for. They don't want to change the name.
Right. Do you think it was a little bit of a troll move on them to just what they're saying is that they're gonna just take a whole year because they need to properly rebrand it, and they don't want to rush to rebrand it. But also, to these people who find everything offensive, by taking away the name Redskin and having the name Washington, this group of offended people is just as offended by George Washington as they are about the name Redskin. So this is like, okay, you're going to get what you want, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
I don't know. It's just me being conspiratorial.
Yeah.
I said if this group of people is offended, they're still going to be offended. I mean, they're going to be offended no matter what. You could say vanilla yogurt, and they'll be offended by that somehow.
I know, but this
any yogurt, strawberry.
But this has been still going on for. This has been going on for so many generations. For some people, this will be a success. This would be very important thing for some cultures.
Mm-hmm. It's a good thing. I agree.
It's a good thing. I mean, I don't know many teams. I don't know many countries that name teams after racist names. I don't want them to be, I don't want them to be Washington Hunkies either. I don't want that. I don't want it to be,
the crackers. We want the Washington crackers.
Yeah, I don't want it. I don't want Washington crackers. Don't change it to another racist name. I don't want the Washington Negroes. I don't want it. I get it. I don't know, and it's the weirdest thing, and it goes back to what we had talked about in our last podcast about breaking these traditions, breaking away from all of this past where it's so painful for a lot of communities. And it's a constant reminder, you know, when you see your image like a redskin,
yeah,
it's like having black man lynched on an image of a black man lynched on a tree. Right. It's the same thing to me.
But 9 out of 10 Native Americans said they weren't offended.
That's right. You're absolutely right, because it's not. But you can remember, it's not for them. It's for their ancestors that are. You see, that's like what white kids say. It's not me. I didn't put you guys through slavery. It wasn't my generation. Why are you upset with me? But it's not you. It's you should want to correct the wrong of your ancestors.
Well, my ancestors were working on a farm in Europe. They weren't have anything to do with this.
I know. But from the human perspective, you know your involvement and your ancestors' involvement, and you are benefiting from your ancestors' involvement, and we are not. So if you should have the responsibility to want to correct what your ancestors did.
My ancestors didn't do anything. My ancestors were not slave owners.
No, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about America's ancestors.
I see.
I'm talking about. But when you talk about ancestors, as far as black people, it's the experience in this country. And the Italians had something to do with the racism that came after slavery. About the Italians, because we know the history between Italians and blacks, and we know already that there is some we could talk about.
Well, okay. What do you think is going to happen though when this country becomes majority Latino? They're going to look at a white and a black guy fighting and say, "This has nothing to do with me."
They already got 51%. As far as I know.
Yeah, I mean, this is a battle between two groups that are getting lower in the percentages of what this country is becoming.
But it's the history. It's the history, and I'm telling you. Your ancestors and the white American people will not allow their history to be destroyed or forgotten easily. It's going to take generations and generations and generations and generations.
Right, but when you keep trying to tack this stuff onto modern day stuff, that's where you get the guy like that neighborhood watch George Zimmerman guy, the Trayvon Martin guy, where he was half Spanish and half Jewish or something, and they're like, this white guy's out of control.
He's white out of control. But that was the white in him. That wasn't the Latino.
He was Jewish, right?
Yeah, he was.
I think he did a salsa dance right after that to bring out the Latino side.
Tip can confirm that, can you?
Wait, hold on. Get back to sports. How many games are they going to be playing?
60.
So this is not even a real season.
It's a third of a season or half of it.
I'm going to have a World Series and everything, and
yeah. Well, they say they make more money during the postseason. That's what they're aiming for.
I'm kind of cool about a shortened season. I mean, I think the baseball season's too long, anyways.
Me too. I agree.
It just goes on and on. It's like just get to the playoffs. No one cares.
162 games or something like that.
What's that?
It's 162 games.
Something like that.
Usually,
it goes in and out of 3 different sports. It goes out of football, goes into basketball, and still baseball, soccer all year round.
Well, no. When it starts, it's basketball and hockey are having their playoff times, I believe, and then at the end of it, football started. Basketball started again, didn't it?
It used to end in October. Now it ends in November. They've extended this so far.
Well,
the baseball playoffs are so good.
Yeah, baseball used to end in October. World Series used to end in October. Now it's going into November.
I think it's only done that. I think it's only done that a couple of times because they had to reschedule. I think during 9/11 or something like that. Because I think this last season, the last World Series ended late October.
Hey, I jotted down a few ways in which the MLB opening day completely encapsulates summer of 2020.
Oh, you got to be talking about that first pitch. Come on, tell me about it.
Okay, here we go. Besides the no fans and fake fans we already talked about, The fans watching at home wanted to tune into a bit of normalcy, but much like everything with this year, things are kind of familiar, but now there's like a new world that had kind of sprung up that seems to not be going away, right? So you have the league branding the mound with the logo of an activist group, a certain activist group. Just like many companies, they don't fully understand what this group stands for, but they're afraid not to be on board. They don't want to be on the wrong side of whatever's going on here. You have the T-shirt company that Richard's wearing the logo of right now.
Oh, man.
That practices hyper-capitalism, but has this activist group's name right across the anti-capitalist messaging right across the shirt, because that's a way to make money, strangely, right now.
You hit the nail in the coffin.
You have an unelected official coming out to do the first pitch. He's wearing the number 19, COVID-19. I'm guessing that's the reason they put that number on him. He's wearing a mask in the middle of an empty field. And then he's taking it off to shoot the shit with some folks in the stands when the cameras weren't watching. In a true Hunger Games fashion, this official, having long forgotten his hometown Brooklyn roots, is now wearing the jersey of the federal district as they play one of his hometown teams. Ooh. I get that he's not an expert in baseball, but his projection missing wildly would have been the perfect icing on the cake had it not been that the game was rained out after 5 innings.
Wow, who is it?
This whole
this sounds
this is a bait and switch.
It's a riddle.
I thought the Dodgers announcer in the second game of the doubleheader had the best comment. Well, if there was a crowd, they'd be leaving early.
Nice.
Then there was also the Manly Voice sports commercials, but now instead of advertising like steak or trucks, they were advertising Go Green things like, "Don't you care about the environment?" So in my conclusion, I wrote that people were looking for baseball to be a pastime from a past time. But instead, what they got was a showcase of modern-day capitulation. And by that, of course, I'm talking about the National League adopting the designated hitter rule. There's my random jotted-down thoughts on the... But I wasn't going to be political, but the MLB seems to have infused politics hard. And I think that people were looking at baseball to be like an old-timey thing, and they didn't get it.
Yeah.
Well, they came up with the tradition of having someone throw out the first pitch who really sucks.
That's true.
Who can't throw a baseball. That's pretty traditional.
I mean,
I like Fauci myself, but it's like, man, dude, you got to practice that stuff, man. You can't go out to the mountain throwing stuff like that.
Honestly, I liked him more before I saw him wearing the Nationals jersey.
Well, he's been a national. He's been a Washington fan for a long time.
You can't be from Brooklyn wearing. It's like if you're not wearing a Dodgers, Giants, or Yankees or Mets, that's not good, man. Football doesn't have that. You could have New Yorkers that are like football fans that are like Miami Dolphin fans, but you can't be wearing a baseball team from like another city, especially a rival city. Like the Nationals are rivals to the Mets. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, those are my hang-ups, but here we are.
You know, when I was watching some of the game, and I understand that these guys are all professionals. I do. I get it. But you got the feeling like because there were no fans in the stand, they weren't playing for them. They were just playing like they looked like high school players.
Yeah. Practice. Yeah. Basketball too looks like a practice session. It's weird.
Let's talk about what the fans really bring to the game. You know, there's a psychology that when you're playing, you play and we all know it. We all know the importance of the home field advantage. Mm-hmm. Why? Because of the fans. Mm-hmm. We all know what it feels like when you're being rooted on by just one person rooting you on makes you feel a certain kind of way. You can do it. You can do it. You can imagine having 20,000 people doing it and how you respond to it. So these guys, when I'm looking at these guys, I'm feeling like they don't even look like they're even taking it seriously. No. It looked very amateur.
Yeah, it does. And they have this whole list of rules, like they can't truly high five. So then you see like one guy do a fake high five and then one guy go in and give the real one. And you're like, oh. I saw where you can't spit sunflower seeds. And I saw one of the umpires low key do this on camera. I was like, he did it.
That's why
He should have waited.
They should need to stop and just cancel it till next year. Start over.
Too much money involved.
Yeah, you're right. There's too much money involved.
We're not even talking about the money. But my thing is that, and what they think, and this is how I got started, because is it about the money, or is it really about providing the American people an outlet to their mundane, being at home, staying at home attitude?
No,
What is it?
It's about money.
Right.
It's about money.
It's about money.
If it's about money, we already know it's not enough money. We know that it's not like they're recuperating what they lost. It's not like they are like, oh, we got to go in here and make $1 billion, because they can't make the same amount of money. It can't.
Well, that was the whole argument the players and the owners had. That's why it took so long to start, because the players wanted a full salary for the year, and the owners were like, no, we're just only going to pay you for what you played.
And the owners aren't exactly, and they wanted to do like some sort of a percentage thing, but the owners are never upfront in baseball with what the dollar figures actually are.
Yeah.
So let me make sure I'm hearing you right, because you're educating me on this one. So you're telling me that the players wanted full
year salary. They wanted their full years. Yeah. And the owner said, no, we're only going to pay you only the percentage of games you guys are playing.
Now, in comparison to the NBA, because I'm hearing that the NBA did something different though with their salary. I think the NBA kept their salaries in place because the NBA is going to start next week, right?
Yeah, but
the 30th, I believe.
On 30th, yeah, it's next week. I think they're going to start. They're going to play their first game, and of course they were the catalyst that got this whole thing started. If you remember, yeah, right. That guy, yeah, the idiot who started touching microphones and ended up being the first puppet to have to get the coronavirus, and then everyone went into fucking shock. So now they're coming back and
playing in a bubble.
Not only playing in a bubble, but again, you can imagine, unlike baseball, where most of the guys look unhealthy anyway. Listen. I mean, these guys look like old firemen out there these days, right?
I mean, I can play baseball, so that tells me something.
Look, give me the $1 million. I'll go out there and scrub a couple of lines. So, but you can imagine how what we're going to see with basketball, because these guys run up and down the court. I mean, it's going to be like, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in his last years. He's never made it up court. He never made it up court. He just like, oh, y'all go ahead down. I'll be down here. This is how.
The COVID could rapidly affect the basketball. I mean, you're so bumping on the other people that if someone gets it, you could have a whole team just get knocked out of the playoffs due to that.
It's a full contact sport.
Done. Sweat, everything. Yeah. I mean, how do you play defense in COVID in basketball?
The NBA doesn't play defense anyway these days. So they'll be all right.
They're going to go back to the zone defense. They're going to go back to the 3-2. I don't know if you guys remember when back in Georgetown, when Patrick Ewing and all those guys used to play, and they used to play the 3-2, the zone defense. But the NBA said you can't play the zone. You got to play man to man, because they want to be sure that you are out actually earning your dollars, that you're not sitting back in the pen. We're paying you $1 million, so we're paying you $12 million a year. So no, bro, you got to get out there and work your ass off and make sure that you're playing man-to-man defense and no cherry picking. You can't give me back there like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and back when he was 42. And by the way, I still think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest basketball player that ever played basketball. So we'll have that conversation later. But how is the NBA going to look if baseball looks like this? Can you imagine?
Yeah, no energy. The baseball fans don't have much energy, so that's fine. Like, baseball is essentially the same energy level that it was before, almost. But basketball, like arena things where the crowd's close, it's just going to feel sad to watch stuff like that.
And what if? Well, I guess they're not having fans in the stand, but I was going to say, if you got like front row seats and a player makes a dive or whatever,
are you kidding me?
You can't shit from them, So
You're going to break one of those pieces of cardboard in half, those cardboard fans in half. It's going to be a lawsuit, a virtual lawsuit.
It'll be like I know they'll play like the Harlem Globetrotters, or they'll just like play keep away, and they won't get anywhere near each other.
How about the NFL season? The NFL's a big money maker.
Oh God,
they are.
How are they not going to get COVID? The line is just breathing in each other's face. That's 10 guys, or what is it? 9 guys just breathing in each other's face at all times.
And you can't wipe down every surface. You can't prevent everybody from doing. It's a highly contagious virus. I mean, there's just no getting around it.
Well, the other thing is, how are the NFL players going to beat their wives if they get COVID? They'll be weak and tired. They won't be able to.
What are you talking about? Beat them? Are they going to quarantine the whole team? Right? Are they going to go home to be able to beat their wives?
Oh, that's true. This might actually improve the marriages of the NFL.
That's what I'm saying. They may do better. They maybe do better, man.
Well, okay.
Are there
excuse me, not wives, baby mamas. My mistake.
It could be either one of these days. It could be a fiance.
That's true.
Well, why is it we can't go to a game, but we can go out and protest? I don't get it.
Oh, look at you. Look at you. You're going to say why are you going to bring the protest?
Because seeing a lot of stuff like in Oregon that kind of bothers me. Like, I feel like bad behavior is rewarded in
Seattle.
I've been taught my whole life.
I think that whole movement has been hijacked.
Yeah, I've been taught my whole life not to graffiti stuff, not to damage other people's property. You know, and people are doing it now, and it's like I feel like they think it's okay.
The correctional system had a good impact on Richard.
Yes. The days up at YS really helped.
Well, here's my question about the rioters right now that are out there. Is that just a misrepresentation where you have maybe just a few bad apples that are sitting there doing it? Is that the unidentified law enforcement that's out there, instigating these riots, instigating some of these people to go out there and firebomb the police, or is that actual quote unquote bad apples or bad actors that are doing this?
As Dave Chappelle said, I saw a white riot in Portland, Oregon. It's just Antifa types. That's Antifa country. Those people are against the whole system of America. They don't want reform. They don't want their demands to be heard. They want the whole thing to be ripped down.
Well, how come the mayor's protesting?
That's far out there.
That's not his job to be doing that.
I like how and then the protesters show up at the mayor's house anyway. Ride the wave of the mob. The wave crashes on you at some point.
No,
I think it's a mixed bag, Tim. I think it's a lot of disparate elements all going on at once. When I was on Santa Monica when it happened here, it kind of looked like a mixed bag of good and bad apples. The problem is from afar. It's like, how do you define this as a group? You really have to get into the exact what's going on to even properly understand this situation.
What do you think of this secret police?
There's a secret police?
I mean, it's kind of weird that those stories are weird about like those people grabbing people up and throwing them in vans. But those stories are also weird that the police are not being allowed to do their job on a local level. Both of those are weird stories. I mean,
well, the only thing I don't like about these guys not wearing identification, I mean, their use of force, I mean, that's a debate unto itself. But the fact that they're not identifiable, it basically opens the door for anybody with a pair of battle dress uniform, anybody with camouflage can go out there and say, "Oh yeah, I'm a cop. I'm gonna sit there and start throwing people in vans and start beating the shit out of people."
Well, remember that guy in LA that got caught? That guy dressed up in army camo and he wanted to hang out with the National Guard and he got caught in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was having a gun that wasn't like their sort of gun, so they realized instantly this guy's just dressing up.
No, but you're right. We shouldn't have federal troops, but these mayors are not allowing the cops to do their job. So
another problem is that in some of those northwestern cities, like Portland, the mayor is the police commissioner. So you have weird situations, and now where the mayor, who is technically the police commissioner, is protesting against cops.
Yeah.
What? Like at some point, someone has to be the man. Not everyone can be the hippie. Like someone has to be on the wrong side of things. There has to be some sort of something that something positive comes from. You can't just be, I'm against the man, but I'm also the person in power, a.k.a. the man.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick on baseball, I wanted to give my prediction for who's going to win the World Series.
Okay.
The Mets are going to win the World Series in true 2020 fashion. And the day before the parade, de Blasio will, due to COVID-19 concerns, cancel the 2020 parade. Then, the next year, when everyone gets back to business, the Yankees will win in 2021. And the parades for 2020 and 2021 will be held on the same day. And the Yankees parade will so greatly overshadow the Mets parade in true poetic fashion. Wow. The Mets will win when it's absolutely miserable for the fans to enjoy it.
I'm glad we're in California, man, because this weed is good.
George, you did that a little too well, man.
Because that boy right there, what? Get some of this, Richard. Take it, man. Take it. What that boy just said right there about that boy. Woo!
Hey, they're 1-1. You got to believe. They only had one in their only in so far in 2 games. They only had one historic loss.
Man, keep hope alive. That's what Jesse Jackson said, bro. Keep hope alive, man. All right, okay, I got one for you. It's a different sport, but I want to ask you guys a quick question. All right, now this is a very serious question, sports related, and I want to get everyone who's watching this your genuine expressions when I ask each one of you all this question right now. Would any of you today, based on the information that we have seen, would any of you today get in the ring with Mike Tyson?
No. No.
Have you all been watching this dude recently?
Yeah.
He's trading, right? He's going to fight Roy Jones, right? Roy Jones, correct? Exhibition bout?
I thought he was going to fight Holyfield. I thought Holyfield.
No, it's Roy Jones.
But Roy Jones is not even in his did Roy pick up some weight recently?
Yeah, I think so. Let me confirm that. That's what I heard last time.
Because Mike Tyson looks like a beast right now.
Oh, yeah. That was crazy.
He put out 2 promos to say, I'm back. And I thought I was getting, I'm like, dude, this dude is what? Is he 50? How old is Mike Tyson? Like 52?
54.
54 years old.
He's going to face Roy Jones Jr. on September 12th. Exhibition match.
Wow.
Bro. That boy looks like, and he's doing Shark Week.
He's the shark? Is he the shark?
He's the shark. I'm driving last night. I'm driving up La Brea Boulevard, and within 3 miles, I see 2 billboards, separate products with Mike Tyson on it. Something's going on with Mike Tyson. And you all know, because we did, quote unquote, we work in that industry, and we've seen some great cartoons with this guy. And you know, something's going on with this branding. He's back.
Good.
Yeah, he's great.
Happy.
He's also, I mean, I always admired that he was, you know, with his disability, if you want to call it that, he was one of the best students of all time. He was a student of boxing and of intimidation. I mean, with limited resources, he made the most out of it. Personal problems aside.
But he was taken advantage of, and the media made him look bad when he actually wasn't a bad person.
That's right. That's right. So we gotta keep our eye on Mike Tyson, sports wise, because you know George Foreman. I think boxed until he was, you know, remember George Foreman was doing all of that boxing, getting all that extra money. He was doing like $1 million fights. He was just sitting there, and he was, you know, you know, but he was knocking guys out. And but I'm really curious to see what Mike Tyson is going to do for boxing. You remember because. You know, we already know what happened in the last 50 so bouts with your boy Floyd. What's his name?
Oh yeah, Mayweather.
I'm not even gonna say his name because you know
Mayweather.
I'm not a big fan of his, but I think he's a great boxer. Let me just say that I think he's probably the best technical boxer that ever fought in the ring.
Well, I mean, boxing was on the upswing for the last couple of years with, Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder and all that. And it's COVID has kind of put a pause on all of it, which actually kind of helps Wilder because he got outclassed in the last fight, and they were going to do a quick rematch. So I'm hoping that during this time he actually takes the time to get his skills up and get those belts back in America.
Did you want Wilder to win that bout?
Yeah, I want Wilder to win every bout because he's from this country. I want the belts to be here because look what happened when those belts went over there. They get held hostage, same as we do. I wasn't watching those bouts when they were in Germany and Russia and Ukraine when those belts were over there. I'm not gonna tune in and watch that. I can't even tune in and watch that. There's nowhere to watch it.
Now, I'd watch Mike Tyson box if he was wearing a mask. I want to see that.
Oh my God, you'd die if you boxed with a mask on. You would suffocate.
Well, I'm curious to see how this all is going to play out. Obviously, I don't think Mike Tyson can get into the ring with a Fury, or I don't think he could do anything like that. But I love how they're creating a different lane in the sport. I like that. I like that everything is not focused in one area. That we can have different genres of, if you will, of this sport. Much like in the NBA, we have the B League or the D League. We have college. With boxing, it's really no way to see how talent can be mature. There's no money in it. So this is a great way, I believe, to get boxing another lane for people to look at without having this huge event that happens. We got to pay all of this money, and we can still enjoy the sport.
Oh yeah, I love boxing. I mean, the problem is that they have no league structure, but that's also why the guys get paid so much. Like UFC fighters don't get paid shit. They have a good league and they put out a consistently good product where the fans typically don't get ripped off. But when boxing is at its best, it's, in my opinion, so much better than MMA.
Yeah.
And nothing beats a good boxing fight to me.
Yeah.
Boxing match.
But it was corrupted for so long. That's
still
why.
is.
Well, it still is. I was going to say.
Yeah. I mean,
UFC, what they like about UFC, if you're on top, you can't dodge the next guy. You have to fight him.
That's the problem with Mayweather. He just chose his opponents. And also there's the mental advantage of this guy who just picked you to fight and make all this money is now your boss.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
For the promotional period of the fight.
Yeah. No, it's true. When UFC, you can't dodge any opponent. You have to fight him, you have to give up the belt. That's
right.
Right.
That's right. So now, fantasy football. You guys do that?
No, I do.
What?
I'm in a league.
That's fantasy football. I know somebody got some trophies back there, fantasy football that you guys won or lost, or so with fantasy football, Richard, since you're into that, how does that work for all those folks that do that? As far as the COVID, is there something wrong with that?
They're still doing it the same. I mean, I'm not hyped about this year because what if a player sits out? There's one guy already from Kansas City Chiefs. Well, he's an offensive lineman, but he's not playing this year.
Who is he?
I forgot his name.
Okay.
But he's not, in fantasy football, but per se, offensive or defensive lineman. But I'm just saying.
But he's taking a chance on this whole thing by not playing. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, he's actually has a PhD or something, so he's going to help out people, which is actually a good thing.
I wonder if you could bet in Vegas on who's going to get COVID.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised. No, I bet you that is a bet.
That's so sick.
But these players can drop out whenever you want. That's why fantasy football is going to be kind of a little bit different this year. Because, you could draft this guy, awesome guy, then he might, a couple of games, he might be like, oh, I don't want to play anymore because COVID.
Do you just get an extra pick, Richard, or are you?
I don't know. I haven't seen any rules about all that yet. They just, the draft is in a month, so I think we're going to talk about this.
Can we pick this up later, Richard, and see what you're going to be doing with fantasy?
Yes, football? I will. Yeah, because I'm not
follow your journey with your fantasy football. Is that fair?
I know
I'm not too excited about it.
But can we follow your journey?
Yes, you can, and then I'll do my best.
I have to do it because I'm going to be asking about your fantasy. I don't do it personally, but now that we have someone on the team that does, I think it'd be exciting for people to follow.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all of this wanting team sports to get back to normal is just, I don't know. For me personally, I've just tried since this has started, I've just tried a bunch of new stuff for my own self, things that I can't contract COVID doing. And also because the world kind of got smaller, like there's less places you could go. So I've kind of like reinterpreted my world in terms of having new activities. Like for instance, since this has started, well, also I was fatter at the time, so I'm like, oh my god, if I lose weight, I'm gonna die. So I have a bike trail right by the house.
Is this about Pornhub?
No.
Oh, Chris, I'm gonna start.
My wrist is kind of beat up from some other thing. But yeah, since this what's that?
I'm gonna start a GoFundMe because of your plants. I feel bad.
That's true. My plants did get robbed due to. I don't know if you would consider this a 2020 event, but yeah, some people did come and rob my plants out of the pots.
I feel really bad.
My favorite line was the cop who was taking down the report saying, "You say the value of this was $50?" Yeah.
50 hard-earned dollars.
Why not just take the pots? I don't understand why they probably got their truck all dirty or wherever there was a trail of dirt going out to the street and then a pile of dirt and then there was nothing. Like the getaway car took the plants. I grew those plants for my baby. But no, since this has started, I always liked bike riding, but my bike would hurt my back, so I got a cruiser bike so I could go forever, and I did the whole bike trail. So I did all 42 miles of it. Really? I got a raft. I got a little. What's it?
You did it 42 miles in one sitting? I mean, at one.
Yeah, it took me about 5 hours, but I did it.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's just a place I always wanted to go, but never did before. And my motto lately has been like, well, I have no reason not to try something new. Like I was out by the marina and I saw all the people with the boats, and I said, well, I'm not rich enough for that, but hey, you know what? Let me see if I can buy a $50 rubber boat on Amazon. And I did, and I went out there, and lifeguard yelled at me from time to time, but yeah, it was cool. I got to, and then I also just started longboarding, those long skateboards. Mm-hmm. So I did that on the trail, and that's good exercise. And then the cool thing about all that is that now your little world is interpreted differently. Like there used to be this winding bicycle trail by these short steps it's still there by the Santa Monica Hotel and I always thought that's the most pointless frickin' little swerve of pavement. But then when I had the board, I was like, oh my God, that's the perfect training activity. So for me, I'm just trying to stay active and trying to do new things during this time because it's the end of the world doesn't mean you have to fall apart in more ways than one or two or three or four.
Are we ever going to get back to normal though? I feel like the media is really pushing this for us not to go back normal.
I think when Joe Biden wins the election, everything will be wonderful again.
I think so too. After
what? I'm more concerned about Kanye West right now.
What happened to him? What the hell is going on there?
What did he do?
Well, I mean, Kanye is running for president.
He's running. He's on the ballot.
Say it again.
On the ballot?
He can't. There's certain states that are closed already.
On the back. He's going to be on the back of the ballot.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. He's filed all the necessary paperwork. I don't quite understand what the play is here, other than the fact that, it's kind of hard to say because politics is such a
deceptive.
Yeah, because we don't know really what team he's playing for. We don't know.
No.
We don't have. It's not very clear from the perspective. For me, I'm going to own this. It's not clear what his motivations are when you don't have a clear vision in your regular daily life. It's like it's like he put out something and said the other day. He tweeted that he could beat Biden. I'm not quoting the tweet very well, but it was something in regards to Biden. So what does that mean? At this point in the election, that means that are you a Republican? Because the primaries are over. The primaries are over. So it's not as if you're trying to become the front runner for the Democratic Party. So when you put out tweet something against Biden, are you saying that you're running against him, or are you running against your friend or your comrade Trump? I mean, I don't understand what the play here.
I think it's just the problem of being an independent and of being a very creative person in a time like this, where you have to be forced into some box by some group in order for you to seem valid.
But he's not in a group. He's not in a group. He's not in a box. That's the thing about it. Kanye has done a great job at marketing himself as the light switch guy. You know, he turns it on, he turns it off. Turns it on, turns it off. And when you turn it on, you have to pay attention. Okay, is this a blue light or a red light? Because it's not the same color. It's not the same. It's going to be every time he switches on and off. And
I think he's just batshit crazy.
Yeah, and
or he knows how to stay in the headlines in this weird day and age. He figured out how to stay in the headlines.
Remember what Dave Chappelle said? When people start calling you crazy, that means that you may be on the right track.
Mm-hmm. Well, he also said that it was a dismissive term to call someone crazy. He hates the term crazy.
It makes it easy. It's easy for you to call them crazy without identifying what the issues are. Yeah. And so I don't know. I'll tell you what. On our next podcast, I'll go down the rabbit hole and I'll do a segment on where he is at the time that we have. But I don't know. I just think it's interesting. I know this is not about sports, but it's going to play into some kind of narrative as we get closer. Because remember, guys, this is an election year. We got to go. You know, we're going to go to the polls on November the 4th. We go to the polls to elect the president of the United States for 4 years.
Or mail him in.
Well,
but again?
Or mail him in, or mail in the ballots.
Or mail in the ballots, yeah.
Well, when Kanye first announced, I thought it was actually brilliant because I thought, I mean, he's got no chance of winning, but I thought, he could be a viable third-party candidate. His goal might be to take votes away from Biden.
For what?
Take away the black vote.
But, okay.
They do say Biden's slipping with the minority vote. Spanish and black.
I'm gonna jump down the rabbit.
But I mean, he's also up on Trump like 13 points at the moment.
But is he?
Nothing.
Which polls?
Because him and Trump are BFFs, and so I figured, okay, he's being he put his hat in the ring just to be a cog in the wheel there or whatever, just be kind of a just to throw something out there, So I think his goal is to sit there and try to take votes away.
Well, maybe he's holding a grudge. Trump did once say that Kim Kardashian was not one of the world's beauties. But he said he didn't want to go too deep into it because he likes Kanye personally. After insulting his wife, he also didn't say he didn't want to insult him too much because he is a friend.
Well, he does own the beauty. What is it? The American Beauty.
Miss. Yeah, I think he might have sold off the interest in that.
He probably did when because he had so many problems when he was running for president. He probably sold interest. But just to be fair, in regards to this whole sports thing, we haven't talked about the NHL. Are you guys hockey fans?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I could watch hockey and basketball live, but it's a little hard for me to watch it on TV.
They're in their season. They're running. They're doing their thing. And
they are?
Yeah, they're playing. But
okay.
The thing about it is not many people watch it anyway. So it's kind of like what they're doing now is what they usually do. They're always under the radar. Right. It's just they don't fill up the whole stadium, and for all intents and purposes, it's ice.
I wonder if
they're a little safer too because they're fully covered up. They've got gloves on. They've got face shields on anyway. So they're a little lower risk, I think.
So is fist fighting going to be allowed if there's COVID? You could give someone the COVID under. If your knuckles have the COVID and then you get them on the tongue, a good shot. You could. Plus, those guys are missing teeth. The COVID could slip in between the teeth.
Oh wow.
That'll be a new penalty. It'll be 5 minute. It'll be a 5-minute major for COVID.
COVID violation.
All right. Also, too, obviously, soccer has been going on for the last 2 months, I believe.
Oh, I've got a lot to say about that.
Soccer's been going on for the last 2 months, and I was looking at soccer the other day, and the weirdest thing happened. Right, I'm looking at soccer,
and you're asking yourself, why the hell am I watching soccer?
Basically, I'm looking at soccer, and the referee gives the player in the stands a yellow card. Right? he's because they're practicing social distancing with the players, so they have the players spread out in the stands as if they were the audience watching the game in the stadium, right? So my assumption is that one of the players, because it's a stadium and because they're the only ones in, when they say "F you," you can hear it,
right?
So the referee, based on what he heard, looked up at the stands and gave this guy a yellow card for what he said.
And then when his back was turned, a guy on the field flopped on the floor, and then the ref turned around like a wrestling ref and went, "Red card for the other guy."
Red card for the other guy. So soccer is still going on, and it's been going on. Now I don't know. I don't follow soccer well enough to understand the club teams and how the world is responding. But they're playing. They're out.
They're back in Europe too. They're back. Speaking of that, I actually have prepared a little something that came out of my lunchbox regarding soccer. I don't know if you guys want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hear it.
We need theme music for this. For every time Chris goes on a rant.
Yeah.
And now it's time for the weekly rant.
All right, so I was arguing with a friend that I said.
Wait, where's this friend from? Bio?
This friend is a friend. This friend's called Brian. George and Tim might know him. So I was arguing with my friend Brian from New York, and was from here.
Shout out to Brian.
And
shout out to Brian.
And I told him during the World Cup, after I couldn't watch more than 2 minutes of it with the guys flopping on the ground. And I said, there's about 100 sports I would watch before soccer. And he's like, no, there's not. So here's my list of 100 sports, Brian, that I will watch before watching soccer. Broken down into categories. I'll go through them as quick as I can, but feel free to cut me off or interject at any time.
Okay.
Football sports. American football, Canadian football, arena football, Australian football, international rules football, rugby, and rugby sevens. Volley sports. Tennis, badminton, ping pong, volleyball, beach volleyball, of course. Okay. Sepak takraw, that's volleyball with your feet. Racquetball and wall handball, like they do in NYC. And also high-a-lie. You remember high-a-lie from the 70s? Las Vegas type of sport with the cone? No?
Featured in Miami Vice. Come on, it's the opening credits. They played high-a-lie.
Bat and ball sports. Baseball, softball, peso palo, that's Finnish baseball. Cricket T20s, and also old school. I'll go rounders, old school folk game of a stick and ball. Then stick sports, I'll go hockey. I'll go ice sledge hockey. That's Paralympics hockey when you're, no legs hockey. Shinty, hurling, and Native American stickball.
What about cricket? You gotta put cricket in there.
How about lacrosse?
I did. I've had cricket T20s. That's the quicker version of cricket.
How about lacrosse?
Lacrosse?
Not a big lacrosse fan.
Oh, come on. You're from the East Coast.
Basket sports. Basketball, wheelchair basketball, and slam ball with the trampolines. I like that one. Winter Olympic sports. Bobsled, luge, alpine skiing, ski jumping, figure skating, and yes, curling. I would watch curling before soccer. Summer Olympic sports. Hey, figure skaters, I think, are tougher than soccer players. They fall down and get right back up. No whining. Summer Olympic sports, swimming, diving, shooting, archery, weightlifting, track and field. I could break that down further, but I won't. Gymnastics could also be broken down further, but I won't. Trampolining and tumbling. Tumbling was at the 1932 Olympics, so that counts. Motorsports. F1 racing, dirt bike racing, Moto X freestyle, rally racing, monster truck freestyle, and sidecar racing. That's a motorcycle race where one guy hangs off the side, giving leverage on the turns. That's pretty crazy. Speaking of crazy,
No
extreme
NASCAR?
sports.
What the hell?
I'm not a fan of NASCAR because I don't like the circular motion. I like when a little more of the wiggle. Extreme sports, skateboarding, downhill longboarding, downhill mountain biking, snowboarding, water skiing, ice cross downhill. That's when the guys go on skates down a luge field and beat the shit out of each other on the turns, Mario Kart style. Parkour and wingsuit flying. Oh, did I mention this list won't help us gain an international audience at all? Shitting on soccer. Combat sports, boxing, judo, freestyle wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling, sumo wrestling, MMA, medieval MMA. That's where you do it with swords and shields and suits of armor.
Backyard wrestling.
Not a big fan of backyard wrestling.
Oh, come on.
I like my athletes to be trained.
You used to hold the belt. You used to have the belt back in 20.
I did have the belt due to lots of cheating.
Oh, come on, backyard wrestling. That's.
Hold on.
Yeah, okay.
I got kendo, which is, you know what that is, right? Japanese sword fighting. Paintball. Kabaddi, which is an Indian tackling sport. You should look that one up. That's pretty cool. Speaking of Japanese sports, televised events, you got Yukigassen, which is Japanese snowball fighting. You'd be good at that, Richard. There's also college activities such as dodgeball, ultimate frisbee, disc golf, cornhole, and botaoshi, which is another Japanese game. Actually, it's a war simulation played by military colleges, I believe. And there's lumberjack sports like wood chopping I'd rather watch than soccer, and log sawing and strongman competitions. But there's also other types of things like table games like pool and snooker and chess and Texas Hold'em and foosball and air hockey. I'm putting those sports as higher on my hierarchy than soccer. Then there's also work sports that aren't real, like roller derby and pro wrestling and Jackie Chan movies, kung fu choreography. Esports, video games. Richard, you like this one. I'll watch a Rocket League tournament or Fortnite or Super Smash Brothers.
Okay.
TV competitions like the dog agility courses, battle bots, Ultimate Tag. That's a new one. American Ninja Warrior, American Gladiators. And if they brought back Nickelodeon Guts for an adult audience, with adults, I'd watch that again as well. And then there's really trashy TV competitions like hot dog eating contests, police car chases, police chasing the vehicles, and the trashiest of all TV competitions, presidential politics, of course. And then in honor of Tim, for number 100, I listed bowling.
Nice.
That is my list of 100 sports.
Can we go bowling yet? Or is it still close?
No, we haven't.
Closed them all down in California.
We never got to our bowling competition because of COVID, man. And I missed it mostly. Chris, that was awesome, by the way.
That was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been holding that hatred inside for years. I just didn't have a vessel to spew it until now. Thank you.
Shout out to Brian. I'm gonna clip this for a promo just for Brian, so that he'll know that there are at least 100 different sports that you would rather watch than soccer.
And I chopped about 8 off the list to make it 100. And I'm also open to, if soccer players stop crying on the floor like babies and throwing themselves around, I'm open to watching them. At some point, I don't think it'll happen though. So. Yeah.
Well, that was a nice segue into what we would probably be calling the end of this right now.
The end of the show. The end of the entire series.
That
was a great way to kind of size this whole thing up here. Talking about the COVID, talking about how it affected sports, how we feel about it. And this is an ongoing saga. This is just the beginning, guys, because we're right at it. This may end all in 1 week. We may come back next week and one player has the COVID and the whole shit will go to hell. In all sports, by the way, because it only takes one player in one sport, and then that will cause a catastrophic event to happen to make everyone say, wait, if the one NBA player has it, then it's going to affect soccer. It's going to affect baseball for sure. It's going to affect everything. So we've got to keep our eyes open for this.
Is soccer in any one of your even top 10 sports that you would watch? 5?
For me,
is it on your radar?
That's a tough one. It's in my top 15.
Okay. My
top 15. I don't mind watching soccer. I like soccer. My daughter is a big soccer advocate. She loves it. As a matter of fact, she was on her way to a soccer. She and her boyfriend, shout out to Amanda and Kieran, They were on their way this summer because they won lotto tickets to the to Europe in Italy to actually see the game. But because of the COVID, they had to cancel what would be almost a 30-day trip to do it. So I know that she keeps me quite involved in it. But other than that, and my abuelo, he does love soccer. So every time I go over there to visit, he's watching soccer and we talk about it. But other than that, not so much.
I just think, going back to what we were saying before about being in a new world and trying something new, I get that soccer is very ubiquitous. I don't know why there's the argument that we have to be like the rest of the world in terms of liking soccer. I get that baseball's on the downswing and soccer's on the upswing here, but I mean, some of these sports I didn't know about until I started looking at this list, and I looked at it and I was like, yeah, I'd watch that for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 more than I'd watch soccer for. It's like, I think this is a great time to try something new, and it's like soccer's so ubiquitous, and why is it that it has to be ubiquitous here as well? Do your own thing. Figure out some new sports. Make something new. I don't know. I'm a hater, so whatever.
Well, here's my question: Can you bring a Confederate flag to a soccer game?
That's the honky in you, Tim. That's the honky. You see, that's what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm. This is why I don't want to have a team called the Washington Honkies, because this guy would be the one. You see? Oh my God!
You can bring a North Korean flag to a soccer game.
There you go.
That's even.
Did you ever see their newsreel? The North Korean newsreels of when they play soccer?
No.
I highly suggest everyone look this up. So basically, when North Korea has their propaganda, so there's been a few times where they've actually played in like the qualifying games. They got their shit kicked out of them, but the way they cover the game is that they won the whole tournament. So they'll take like the one goal they had and they'll flip it so it's from different angles, but it's the same shot, and they'll be like, that announcer, and they won like 5-1 or 5-0. They won everything, and they did it for the pride of North Korea. It's pretty funny.
It's funny.
I'll watch soccer. I'll watch that coverage of soccer.
How much time?
I actually worked for a sports network for many years, and we actually put on a lot of soccer. And the thing was, it was just so boring because you don't know where they're at as far as there's no playoff system, there's no tournaments. Like, you don't know where these teams are located at or where they're at in the world.
I like soccer. Yeah. I think there's just too many teams where I don't even know. I don't have a favorite team. I love watching the World Cup. But like as far as the leagues, there's so many. I don't even know. There's not like a major one. I don't know which major one there is actually.
Everyone likes the Premier League. That's supposedly the best one.
Best one, okay.
The only thing I know about the Premier League is the team that comes in dead last has to go back to the minors.
That is.
I love that.
That is cool.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Oh man, the Jets are lucky that we don't have that one.
And so are the Mets.
World Series champions. Will you watch? Wait and see.
That's right.
How much time we have left?
Yeah, listen, we're going to get out of here, guys. Listen, we want to obviously thank you guys for showing up and showing out. We're going to be back next week for the episode number 3. This is episode 2, by the way, COVID and Sport. And we know that the quality of our opinion is very little, but we do like to say how we feel. So in the words of, I believe, Richard, no, you're an idiot. No. Never mind. On that note, we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
I'll be back with my list of 200 sports I like more than soccer.
Get out of here. Get out of here. No, we're done. We're done. All right, guys. We'll see you guys.
See you.
Peace.